Only some of these say streaming. I have a 5 active. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That one's not going. Okay, that's okay. Okay, so this is just going to be a, I'm going to show how the one way of editing drums really fast in Reaper. This is for one of my friends, and I'm going to try and let me message him that it's on right now. Here we go. And as soon as he's up here, I'll start. I got this is actually one of the songs. It's actually one of our student songs. And their drummer, I don't know how long he's been playing. I'm not usually around when the bands are here anymore, but he was really good. Let me have to Alt Z this real quick. Okay, so this is one way to do things pretty quickly. Let me see if he's on. Okay. It's not counting people. I don't know why. Okay. Hey. All right. Goody. Perfect. Okay. So here's my drum tracks. And this is only going to work. Actually, you could make this work if it's really bad, but it's going to work a lot better if the drummer's good. So first what I'm going to do is I'm going to group all the drums, and depending how you have your options set, different groups will do different things. But in this case, if I split the drums, it's going to split them all the group drums. If I move one, it's going to move them all. Okay, so in this case, I know what the tempo is, I think. Let me see, is the tempo right? 126. Let me play it with the click and see how close that is. Okay, so he's a little bit off, but it's not, you're not going to die. But we're going to fix that anyway. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to choose the kick track. I'm going to go to View, Dynamic Split. But I'm not going to split. Okay, and then here's where we get into our first debate, right? Some people believe that there is no amount of stretching, transient, are going to get lost, whatever. Even like if it's like not even 1% of the speed or whatever. In that case, do it a different way. You could just split up the drums right here. I could actually do that right now. Let's see if I choose split selected items and grouped items. I'd split everything by the kick, and you could just drop that wherever you wanted that after that. It's not bad. It'll work, but you're going to deal with the same problems you would with normal slip editing. In case it was too fast, you're going to have all those little doubling up sounds and all that kind of stuff. So I'm not going to do it that way. I have no idea why. It just did something very funny to me. So let me, I'm going to ungroup these and group them all again, just in case something's weird here. Okay. So instead of that, let me go back to dynamic split. And what I'm going to do is choose add stretch markers to selected items and group items. There's a new one up here, replace stretch markers in selected items and add to grouped items. That that's the old way this did this. It's not super important, but let's say that you wanted to go way crazier than just kicks, right? You want to also get the snares on. You also get every drum on. The new way this will do it is to use this setting. And I know I'm getting a little bit too micro right now, but for now, I'm just going to look at the kick. And let's say that you're kind of looking at a threshold control here to how sensitive it's going to be. So here's that, see that line? I don't know if you can see the line moving up and down. This might not be the best color scheme to see this, but there's a line going there that's telling it where the threshold is. And you'll see some dotted lines here, and that'll say that's where it's going to place one of these stretch markers. So for now, I'm just going to add it to the kick. So I'm going to choose add stretch markers. Now, this whole thing has stretch markers here. And depending how granular you want to get, you might want to take off the stretch markers of really fast hits, because it might wreck, some feel or something. So be careful. But in general, what I'm going to do is I'm going to increase my grid resolution there. So now I'm looking at what am I looking at? I'm looking at eighth notes now. Okay, let's say we're just going to go to eighth notes, and I'm going to do these two measures right here. Okay. So I'm doing a time selection, and I'm going to go to actions and show action list, and I'll show you what I have for mine. I use the key X, and X, snap stretch markers and time selection to grid. Now this is going to stretch, and depending on what stretching algorithm you have, it could get pretty nasty. The one that I found the best is to either use balanced or tonal optimized, even though it's drums for some reason. I'll go balance and watch what'll happen. Elastique 3.3 efficient. And something funny here. The Soloist and Pro, the ones that actually use a lot more CPU, they'll do some funny, phasey things to the drums. So this is the one I use. I just use efficient, and I'm going to use it in balance mode. And so I'm going to take these drums right here, and I'm going to hit X, and it's going to move all the drums with the groups. Okay, so now you see some red dots. That means that the time has changed. So let me undo that. So let's listen to that loop real quick. Let's see. Yeah, I'm playing with the grid, or the click. Okay, now I'm going to snap them in time. I'm going to try it with the click. Now, this drummer played it pretty well. So not super concerned about the snares. The snares seem to be lining up where they should be anyway. But let's say they weren't. I'm going to go back. I'm going to click on the snare track. And here you got to be a little bit careful here, but for the most part, you're going to be okay. I'm going to go back to dynamic split. And I'm going to be using it on the snare drum. And I'm going to look out for doubled up things like this. Like that's a flam right there. You got to be careful with those. I'm talking with Justin about making a minimum length so that you can't double up on things like that. But in general, you're not really going to get nailed by these too much. So I'm going to add stretch markers again. And what you're going to see is it's going to take these stretch markers that are on the snare, and it's going to add them to all the tracks so that they'll still all move if you have a problem. Now, I'm going to erase this stretch marker right here on the flam. I want the flam as it is. So now I'm going to take that same group, same area. And let's see, is that a flam? Nope. And so now I'm going to snap it again. And now it's going to move everything else by a little bit, but now the snare is going to be right on the money. And you can do that across your tracks. Like if you have a tom track you're worried about, you can go into those and add those stretch markers too. In general, they're not hitting their toms all the time, so you're not going to have that issue. In fact, this guy, man, he only hits it like once over here. So so if I were to do the tom one, let's go, where's dynamics? Yeah. So I put it on the toolbar so that it would make it quicker for me to get to. So I would definitely set my threshold so that only the toms are hitting. And that's going to be a little bit tricky because we all know that toms are the bane of a recording engineer's existence. And most drummers are going to hit them way too soft compared to every other drum on the track. And so you'll end up with no way to use an actual noise gate on these things. But if I wanted to, I could add these stretch markers here. And, look, see the snare's lying there, right? In general, I don't even bother doing the tom ones. I'll just go and mess with those by hand later on. And in fact, let me show you how to do that. So let me get rid of this stuff. Alt Shift T. I'm going to set my sensitivity here. And by default, Reaper will tab to transients. So I'm going to click on the track here. I'm going to hit tab. You see it's jumping between these transients. And if I really want, I can add a stretch marker right there. And I could either automatically stretch using that snap to grid, or I could just drag that thing until it's where I want it to be. And you'll see if you go more than a couple percent, it's going to start sounding goofy. But in general, you're okay to move a couple percent. It's fine. So that's one way to do this very, very quickly in Reaper. So again, if could start all over here, Control A, see and remove all the stretch markers. So the first thing would be to group all your drums. So the G key by default in Reaper, and then I would say pick your kick track or your snare track, and then choose View, Dynamic Split, and add stretch markers to selected items and grouped items, and make sure that you're seeing those dotted lines. If you don't see the dotted lines, set transient sensitivity. And this is just like a noise gate or a compressor's threshold. You want to get that to where it actually does what you want it to do. And now you're seeing all the dashed lines on here. I think that's what they're calling flex time editing. I don't know the difference. But you're stretching. So, but you could do it with splits too, like I was showing before. You could actually split the stuff and move it around, but I think you're going to have trouble with that. Unless you do the trick like Ryan Harvey does, right? Where he records the drums slow. Yeah, he records the drums slow, or he records the whole band slow, and then he sets the tempo higher for the grid so that he'll never have to stretch. That kind of makes sense. But I don't know. I to me, once these things are, I don't hear them losing their transients like everybody worries about. In fact, let me crank this kick drum up. And Reaper actually has an option set for the minimum transient time. So you can actually make a window, so it will leave the it'll leave the transient alone. So for instance, let me see. There we go. Oh, hey, Maddie, two hats. Yeah, I saw that you did that. I'm gonna take a look at that as soon as I can. I'm fighting my wireless system right now. This P3 PSM 300, and I didn't realize it had a little mix mode thingy in it, and I could just leave two things plugged in, so I don't need to put another mixer on my pedal board. And I realized this thing could substantially make my life easier. So I'm gonna be working on that today, and then I'll get to that video for sure. And I don't know if you had any chance to go mess around on that Rig Talk forum, man, with about the guitar Magic Tonewood stuff, but man, it just hurts. So I just try and put people on ignore so I don't get kicked out of another forum. It helps me. But yeah, Tommy, I think hopefully you see how this works. This is not too the problem is you're gonna have to dump the waveforms into Reaper and mess with it and then get them back. But I mean, that's not hard. You save as you do save as, copy and paste. Yeah, copy all media and then put it in another folder and drop it back into Pro Tools or whatever you're using. That's how I do it. And I got to mix a Grateful Dead band tonight, so I need time to get to the skate park and hopefully kill myself before I have to go mix a Grateful Dead band. And I'm hoping to finish this wireless pedal board wiring before I go. So I will see you later. Call me if this doesn't make any sense. I'll help you with it. The main action that you really need to mess with is this one. Item, snap, stretch markers, and time selection to grid. And the other one is if you messed up, item, remove all stretch markers and time selection. The other thing that will help is I've set my numbers so that if I hit 1, it shows whole notes. Like here, watch. That's whole notes, half notes, quarter notes, eighth notes, 16th notes, 32nd notes, 64th notes. Then I have triplets and stuff. Yeah, no, I'll keep this video up. So you might want to do that. So you see how I have this action set grid to 1, set grid to half. If you hit shift, it does triplets. That's just so that I can see the grid correctly when I'm working, because let's say I had it in whole notes and I did this time snap. Watch what happens. It just squished everything like crazy. So you have to be in the right resolution to make this work. So in this case, that is 1/8 notes. All right. So that's important for that kind of stuff. But I'm going to take off, and then, in an hour, I better be at the skate park. So I'm going to try and wire this. I'm going to try and wire this monstrosity. Where is it? Can you see that? Yeah. That's like a helix and a bunch of other crap on a pedal board. I got to wire that monstrosity before I get out of here, and then feed the dogs. Then drive to almost to Waikiki and do the Grateful Dead band tonight. All right, but yeah, Maddie, meet Tommy, man. This is one of the best guitar players in the world, and he's got a studio in Arizona, and hopefully he's still got a pretty good reptile room too. So